Episode 146, Murphy the Foodie in Old Boston Greek Diners. Old Boston Greek Diners. I am Rod Murphy, and this is Growing Up Poor in Irish Boston, a series of my 1950s era Irish Boston songs, history, jokes, and stories. Forgive me this little self-promotion. From my youth, I have been adventurous, somewhat fearless, and curious. Where that comes from, I have no idea. It includes trying uncommon foods and restaurants. Unsurprisingly, that includes ethnic restaurants and foods. I'm a big fan of Portuguese, Near East, German, Indian, Chinese, Italian, and of course Greek restaurants. Some of my non-adventurous friends would ask me sometimes, "Did you eat any new grubs and worms at restaurants lately? Ha ha ha." Someone once repeated to me this old saw: if a Greek meets another Greek, they start a restaurant. In Boston, this seems to be true. Jews, Italians, and Greeks were the top three immigrant groups owning restaurants in Boston. In my youth, Greek immigrants had relatively small presence in the city in the early 1900s. Despite that small population, Greek-born entrepreneurs owned more than 350 restaurants in Boston during the 1920s and early 30s. Excuse me. Greeks in Boston found that business to be accessible, important, and profitable. Why are Greeks so overrepresented in the restaurant field? Who knows? Maybe their first American jobs were as a dishwasher or a busboy in restaurants, taking menial jobs that others did not want. Maybe those Greeks saved their money and started their own restaurants, or maybe bought out their retiring employers. Like other immigrants of this era, Greeks cultivated small businesses as a way of gaining economic independence and avoiding discrimination by the native-born. Also, Greeks had been part of the Ottoman Empire, so they learned to do business with people of many different backgrounds. But clearly, given their small numbers, Greeks in Boston did so to a degree unmatched by other groups. My experience verifies that Greeks are very sociable and easy to know. From my Cambridge Latin school days, where I met lots of Greek Americans, I have been a big Greek fan. They are smart, sociable, hardworking, competitive, and a lot of fun. Photopoulos, Capsambellas, Eliopoulos, Bacchus, and Demas were the names of some of my friends and classmates. Those Greek characteristics might be a clue why they are so successful. Restaurants filled a crucial need in the Boston Greek community in terms of both diet and social life. Around the turn of the 20th century, the majority of Greek immigrants were single men working to support their families back home and needing a place to congregate and enjoy inexpensive Greek meals. Most of these establishments therefore catered initially to Greeks, but soon expanded their appeal to a much broader clientele. In early 20th century Boston, Greek restaurants were mostly located in South Cove near Kneeland St. By 1906, the Boston Herald reported that Kneeland St was home to 3 Greek restaurants. By the early 1920s, the Greek American Social Club, a major gathering spot for Greek immigrants, was also located on Kneeland St. Newspapers during this time began referring to Greek restaurants not by their name, but by their location on Kneeland St. Soon the area around Kneeland and Washington Streets became known as Greektown, the Greek counterpart of neighboring Chinatown to the north. During this period, Greek restaurants naturally tended to be situated within Greek settlements, creating an enclave for living, eating, and socializing, especially after church on Sundays. These areas were heavily trafficked by Greek men in search of their familiar restaurants, clubs, and coffee houses. Such restaurants were also still in business in the 1920s. The restaurant's menus featured homeland specialties such as avgolimo, a lemony chicken soup, kalori, a sesame ring-shaped bread, chicken pilaf, and lots of lamb dishes, and baklava for dessert. Newspaper articles at the time commented on the atmosphere of restaurants and their affinity for Greece and Greek culture. Most eateries were decorated with Greek flags or decorations that highlighted important events in Greek history, typically the Greek War for Independence of 1821. Often Greek restaurants would host live entertainment such as bouzouki players, belly dances, or even strongman acts like the Hercules performances that celebrated Greek masculinity and bravery. Some restaurants and coffee houses even hosted puppet theater performances that reenacted or celebrated certain moments in Greek history and mythology. Before long, however, Greek restaurant owners began to branch out culturally and geographically. By the 1920s, new establishments had sprung up along Washington and Tremont streets in the South End to serve the hungry hordes of nearby factory workers. These inexpensive lunchrooms and coffee shops served both Greek and American fare in no-frills diners. There were at least 20 Greek-owned restaurants in 1926 near Kneeland St. A scattering of Greek eateries also appeared in working-class districts in the West End, Roxbury, Cambridge, and Dorchester. As I grew up in Boston, I frequented many Greek restaurants. There were upscale seafood Greek restaurants on Northern Avenue, now completely renovated and high-end and called the Seaport area. Jimmy's Harborside and Anthony's Pier 4 were two. Gene and I liked the No Name best. They had a small free parking lot, which is unusual in Boston. Really good seafood, and sitting at a window, you could look across the harbor at ships and boats and the planes landing at Logan Airport. I also remember a pretty Ethiopian waitress there who always remembered me. In my youth in the Northern Ave area, there was a great Greek diner, and I forget its name. Its clientele was working-class laborers, truck drivers, and dock workers. Another was the Shawmut Diner on Shawmut Avenue near Holy Cross Cathedral. One time I had lost my job and for a short time had to work at a day laborers agency called Labor Pool. It was next door to the Shawmut Diner. Breakfast there was huge and cheap. A big slice of fried ham and eggs, toast, and home fries at a small price. And my friend Basil Iliopoulos' father's Olympia Diner on Brookline Ave is mentioned in my episode 9 Fenway Park Lot Scam episode. Check it out. Today, whenever I am in the Boston area, I will go for lunch at the Greek Corner on Mass Ave in Cambridge near the Arlington line. Also, if I am traveling on I-495 near Lawrence or Lowell, I go to another favorite, the Athenian Corner in Lowell. Sometimes I combine that trip with an often well-needed confession at the St. Joseph the Worker Shrine in Lowell. That shrine has confessions and masses all day for you sinners. I live now in Southbridge, Mass., a mill town in central Mass. There is a small chain of Greek restaurants in the area called the Golden Greek. My friend Alex was the founder, but he died a while ago, unfortunately. We knew each other from entrepreneurial associations. Whenever I saw him, I would funningly bust his chops, a little, by making up a story about my make-believe Turkish friend and how much smarter and friendlier the Turks are than the Greeks. He knew I was trolling him, but it would still get a rise out of him every time anyway. He would get very pissed off, but not for long. But don't do what I did. There is bad blood between Greeks and Turks. Today, Greek restaurants are common in Boston and are scattered throughout the city. In fact, no Greek restaurant exists on Kneeland St, which is now predominantly Asian American. Unlike the turn of the last century, these contemporary Greek restaurants appeal to a much broader audience, as Americans are no longer off-put by the idea of a Greek salad and tend to be familiar with Greek cuisine and its offerings. Moreover, media coverage and general sentiments regarding Greek restaurants is very positive today. Instead, these restaurants serve as an important cultural institution for Greeks and Bostonians alike, playing a prominent role in the formation of a multi-ethnic urban city. We Hibernians should thank those Greek eateries for educating our dull and unrefined palates. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my YouTube and podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy them, please hit the subscribe button. It does not cost you anything, and it helps me to grow my audience. Again, my thanks.